Hi, this is I'll Explain. This is another I'll Explore, and in this one, I am bandwagoning. If you are not familiar with the grandpa, long-time YouTuber Skelegram, he's a HEMA cold steel YouTuber focusing on martial arts with melee weapon mostly and some historical weapons, but he has a lot more followers. He's in the space a lot longer. He has been creating a lot longer. I don't think he needs any introduction, but if you do, then there is my short introduction. Now, when I filmed this, he just made a video talking about is it weird to be so investing or geeking out about swords and other historical melee weapons or even historical weapons in general. And in case of Gundam, let's put it straight, Gundam or Mecha in general have its own fascination, but I think there's something unique about Gundam or the brand of real robots. That while real-world historical weapons have very valid and real academic and real-world applications, the fictional historical weapons like mobile suits does not, or is it? Certainly they don't have any real history attached to them, and they don't really have biomechanic attached to them, nor can you really do a sports with them, since mobile suits, or at least human piloting giant robots, does not exist. Well, they do exist, but not widespread enough to become a sport in any form, nor is it very accessible. There are few ways people geeking out on it. One is obviously storytelling aspect of mobile suits. Much like the monsters in mythology or Cyclops that inspired the Zeo mobile suits, they are characters in on it themselves. They are the persona the pilots put on them, and these mobile suits do kind of grow with the character despite being inorganic mechanical vehicles. Some of them are very real, like Every Custom here, which does have some form of AI, while not so much for Zaku and Dom here, but that is also part of the character that make Every Custom unique, as in a one character, while for Zaku and Dom, they become grunts after their notable pilots drop out of the story. So there is this aspect of the mobile suits are persona for their pilots. Loads of nameless pilots just end up being grunts and being recognized as Zaku Pilot 42 and Dome Pilots 18. That's one aspect. The other aspect is a futurist aspect where we examine rather or not humanoid robots, machines, exosuits are useful in, well, warfare is not really day to day, but it is a high intensity scenario where you can explore it. Like, for example, with Zaku here. Is the shield on the side really that useful? We see that Zaku 1 does not have the shield attached to the shoulder, but for Zaku 2 it becomes standard to be armed on the shoulder to free up the hands. The spike shoulders are useful in combat, and we can see the engineering or support type of Zaku would get rid of the spikes. We can also see how the bazooka used to be a support weapon but end up becoming the pseudo main weapon because, it is armored fighting after all, just humanoid armor. Obviously the machine guns stay as the main signature weapons. It has a lot more to do with symbolism, much like the real world, which we will get to later, I think, about how they are also reflection of the real world. But for now, futurist view with a larger robot, you can also do things that would be silly on a human, like strapping rockets on your legs. Talking about strapping rockets, not only do you strap rockets that fires at the enemy, you also strap rockets on your feet or on the mobile suit's feet to get extra mobility. It is not ideal for human to do that, but in a future where with more advanced technology, maybe that's feasible. Also, forearm strap-on weapons is not uncommon, so I guess this is a representation thing again. And onto the dome, it is another side of the spectrum where we are examining how human robots or exosuit needs to be. The proportion of dome is definitely not a human in well-fitted armor, and its legs can't close as the other two, but it have its benefits. It allows it to have more thrusters that we can't see here, but it would, and a air cushion ground effect hovering mechanism. So it is a exploration of the future. Part 3 we sort of getting into from part 2 is symbolism. There are certain weapons that carry symbols with them, and I think in Gundam even the mobile suit themselves are weapons, and the mobile suit themselves are symbolism, like Zaku. The mono eye and the general silhouette become the representation of these space army invaders. They also, in the story and out in the real world, become a symbol themselves. But their weapons also become a symbol, like the Zaku machine gun. It is a representation of a Zaku that some of its successor or spiritual successor would still have a machine gun rapid-firing aspect to it, or have a similar look for the symbolism. Same for the Hawk, or Hit Hawk, or Axe. They keep this weapon type for their symbolism more than practicality, where Ifrits and Dom would opt for more effective weapons, while Zaku continued to use the Hit-Hawk, not just for in-universe lore logistic, but also symbolism. Same goes for Ifrit. It's coloring, it's a symbolism. I didn't talk about it in my commentary to exam. It is Ifrit start out as blue, but Ifrit Custom keep itself blue because it is part of the Blue Destiny story, and pretty much to hammer home the Blue Destiny is not broken until you literally change it, which is what happened with Unit 3, where they changed the main color to white. It's very ham-fisted, but that get the point across. And the red shoulders, as we can see on Unit 2, not only is it a way to convey that it is no longer the Federation-owned Blue Destiny Unit 2, but also that it has the same pilot or represent the same ideology as Ifrit Custom. Dome, yes, there is an aspect of it being inspired by Kendo armor, but I think that is after point 2, where does humanoid robots needs to stay that humanoid, and the Kendo armor sort of deformed the human shape in a way. It also become in real world, probably very limited to Japan, but it is sort of a representation of certain body types. For ill at first, but it became more positive over the years, partly due to the impressive performance of Dome. So, is it weird to geek out about fictional, historical, unrealistic humanoid robot exosuits? Yes, but it is not weird in the way that it does not progress human progression. But even then, that is less of a problem because it is for your brain to think about something that has less consequences. That's probably also why the Gundam series has a lot of mass destruction and human life loss. It is a place and fictional, imaginative place where we can examine the consequences of some of our wild plans for the future. Or, what I haven't get into and I should get into, re-examining how we could have better applied, or rather, what I should bring up is alternative history or rethinking history with less baggage and more purely for their ideology, which is heavily associated with Zeon. And despite there are some revisionistic depiction of Zeon for the last decade, I think they're done very moderately, and they are trying to remedy some of the preconception or cultural boundaries that they just couldn't break back in the day. In fact, the original Gundam Mobile Suit Gundam series has a lot of sympathetic Xeon plots or small stories in between episodes that you just don't see in the later movies. It is great that Cruise Duan's Island got a feature remake or GTO adaptation, and I would see more of those coming out, so we can to recontextualize or to bring some modern sensitivity into the subject matters. On a final note, in a more, how should I say, internet infuriating note, I don't think it is that problematic to revisit 1 Year War so often, because for the real world, we examine some of the major world wars quite frequently, and people tend to forget the lessons learned rather quickly. So I think it's sort of healthy to revisit 1 Year War few years in between for keeping that memory. Also to compare how far Gundam have progressed into, and does it strive too far away from just designs? Are the ideology intact, or should the ideology evolve with modern sensibility? Thanks for watching.